Welcome to the Vision Driven Family Institute, where we educate family leaders who want to fulfill their family's purpose, build wealth, and empower generations. My name is Derek Porter, and I am today's host. I am also the younger son of Philip and Janice Porter, who you have hopefully become familiar with from our other episodes. This is my first cast, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to speak on my educational journey. As always, we want to invite you to share this cast with your family and friends. Feel free to pass it on to them, people who are like-minded, who are interested in these topics, or even someone who's going through that process and wrestling through self-awareness and where do they find fulfillment and meaning in their life. Feel free to dialogue with us. Leave comments for us on our Facebook page about topics that you would like to see us cover. That would be fantastic, and we look forward to serving you and your family in the very near future. So today's topic is every family values education, but not all families are educated. We'll be looking at that paradox together momentarily. So for more information on developing your family vision and finding your purpose in life, please visit our website. That's www.visiondrivenfamily.com. www.visiondrivenfamily.com. On that website, you'll find information about our various books. We have a book on marriage called Journeys to I Do. You have the spiritual gifts curriculum. It's very important to discover that. And of course, the book that's making waves and kind of driving this particular podcast and live Facebook cast series, The Power in a Vision-Driven Family, which also comes with a workbook that you would definitely want to dive into with your own family. You'll also find information on our website about consulting and training and other services that we offer to partner with you guys to build a strong network of families. So today's topic, right? Since it seems like, in my experience as a teacher and even as a student years ago, everyone seems to value education, right? Everyone would kind of agree that education is a good thing for nations and society and communities. Then why aren't all families educated? Right? Why do we see the rates that we see with dropout rates? And people not fulfilling their purpose? People not attaining that level of education that they're desiring. What's up with that? If we would all agree this is a good thing, why is the attainment and the achievement such a struggle? We'll be looking at that paradox together in a moment after I share two of my favorite quotes. So, quotes for the day. Quote number one: success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by the obstacles which he has overcome while trying to succeed. That's Booker T. Washington. I'll say it one more time. Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by the obstacles which he or she has overcome while trying to succeed. So, if you guys don't know, Booker T. Washington was an American educator. He was an author, orator, and even advisor of presidents. This is remarkable because he was in that last generation of Black American leaders who was born into slavery. Then he grew up to become a leading voice on behalf of former slaves and their descendants right here in America. Right? Despite Jim Crow, Washington became one of the founders of the National Negro Business League. And he also, of course, had that famous institution, right? The Tuskegee Institute, that historical Black college in Alabama. So lynchings reached their peak in 1895. And that was the same year that Washington gave his speech known as the Atlanta Compromise. Hopefully you've heard it. You can definitely feel free to Google that, check it out, read it. They even have some great people speaking it. You can kind of hear it aloud on YouTube. This brought him national fame. It made waves and huge progress, right? In this speech, he called for Black progress. He called for African Americans to press forward in their newfound emancipation through education and entrepreneurship, right? Rather than directly trying to challenge Jim Crow politically, how was he going to get them enfranchised? He said education is key. Going into business for yourself is key. One thing that my parents always told me is if you can go into business for yourself, do it. If you can not put all of your eggs in one basket and have multiple streams of income, do it. These things are very important because of self reliance, because of that sense of independence, because of the autonomy and the lateral movement it's able to give you so that you're not tethered and tied down, right? But that you actually experience a greater degree of freedom because education is power, right? And entrepreneurial spirit is so much of what even makes us American to begin with. So, Washington mobilized the middle class, church leaders, white philanthropists, politicians, all with this long term goal of building economic strength based on helping yourself and getting your education. I love this because this is a lifestyle, right? When we talk about education and what it looks like to attain or not attain, we're talking about over the course of your whole life, not just those first 18 to 22 to my soon to be 30 years of life, right? Having a family vision, having a family culture built around valuing education is a daily journey. And I look forward to sharing a little bit more of my journey after quote number 2. We should emphasize not Negro history, but the Negro in history. What we need is not a history of selected races or nations, but the history of the world void of national bias, race hate, and religious prejudice. And that's from Carter Woodson. I'll say it one more time. We should emphasize not Negro history, but the Negro in history. What we need is not a history of selected races or nations, but the history of the world void of national bias, race hate, and religious prejudice. So, Carter Godwin Woodson was an African American historian, one of the first. He was an author, journalist, founder of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Amazing, right? One of the first people to even study, to develop an academic discipline known as African American history. He was the founder of the Journal of Negro History in 1915, and most famously, we know Mr. Woodson as the father of Black history. In February of 1926, he launched the Negro History Week, which was the precursor to what we now know as Black History Month that we celebrate every February. So his determination to further the recognition of Black people in America and in global, right, world history is amazing. It's inspired countless scholars to come. You can look at any institution and find whole departments. You can go to any academic database and find scores and volumes of stuff published on the Black man and the Black woman and their story in history globally. And so the favorite thing, right, why did I choose him other than all of his accolades? And in spite of him going to Harvard, right, as someone who graduated from Yale, I gotta hate, in spite of him going to Harvard and getting his PhD there, I still chose him because he wasn't puffed up, right? He didn't boast in the fact that he went to Harvard or his pedigree of education, right? Even though he had such high attainment, he was a common man, right? He was a member of a family, and he worked to better his community. Dorothy Porter Wesley stated that Woodson would wrap up his publications and take them to the post office just to have dinner at the YMCA. Doesn't that capture, right? Even though he sits in the ivory tower doing high academic work, publishing and sending these things off to the publisher's house, right, through the post office, he would still not be above sitting down, right, with the common family and the common man at the YMCA, breaking bread, having a conversation, right? Being aware of what's actually going on in the community, boots to the ground. And so this is part of why I chose him. This is what makes his quote wonderful. And I would be remiss not to mention the utter frustration I have with the current way that history is taught in America. I have to speak to that. Usually around February in Black History Month, schools around this country will kind of emphasize Black history. They'll talk about many different African American figures, Fannie Lou Hamer, Malcolm X, and of course, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. And that's wonderful. That's great. But this flies in the face of what Carter G. Woodson was trying to do. Hopefully our quote tells you that this type of compartmentalization in boxing up of certain races and cultures and certain messages into the Black or Hispanic category, instead of recognizing the human dignity and personhood and putting some of these thinkers into the broader conversation of their contemporaries, I definitely had to just say something small on that, since today's show is all about education and families. So today's show is sponsored by Generations Empowerment Enterprises, LLC. It's our family business. You can definitely check us out at GUnitedStore.com. That's GUnitedStore.com. All right, so without further ado, right, let's do a brief look at today's topic. Every family values education, but not all families are educated. To start with, let's talk about some of the facts. I'm going to give you just one myth buster, right? There's so many myths in America surrounding education. There's whole books written on that. But I have to talk about the Black male and how we're seen as educational beings in this culture. And so you might have heard a statistic. It kind of became popular in 2003 or so, and it basically said that there are more Black men in jail than there are in college. Okay. There are more Black men in America who are in prison and incarcerated than there are on college campuses, universities, actually progressing themselves. Okay, so this is not true. Okay, I have to say that. This is not true, okay? I've said it before. Other people have definitely said it. We need to stop saying this. I'm going to give you some information on this from New American Media. It says, according to The Root, in 2013, Howard University professor and Congressional Black Caucus foundational analyst Ivory A. Toldson said that the myth that there is more Black men in prison than college is the most frequently quoted statistic about Black men in the United States of America. And this is a problem, right? Over the years, this myth has really taken on a life of its own, being cited by everyone from current civil rights activists to leaders and Black scholars to our local community leaders, families, parents, and most vulnerably, potential college graduates, right? Are young Black men who are internalizing this idea. So according to the U.S. Census, about 18.5 million people in the U.S. population are Black males. Okay, 18.5 million, give or take. Of course, it's fluctuating. Of all ages, older, little kids, all that type of thing. That's about how many are male. Okay. In 2013, 1.4 million were enrolled in college. And this is according to the National Center for Educational Statistics. About the middle of 2013, okay, that same year, there were 219,660 Black males in local jails, 526,000 Black males who were in state or federal prison, totaling 745 men, Black men, behind bars. And this is according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Prison Statistics Program. So let me recap this for you. In 2013, about 4 years ago, 1.4 million black men were in college. 745,000 were behind bars. This shows you statistically that this fact that people want to throw around is really a myth. It's not true. Okay, black men, we are out there getting our education. And of course, for black women, they are one of the most educated among all demographics right here in America. So shout out, congratulations. If you're a black woman who is currently studying, whether it be elementary school or doctoral level, congratulations, keep going. You are among good company. So essentially, the number of black males enrolled in college was undercounted. It provided some inaccurate views about black males and what it means to be black in America, and this is tragic. We will not sufficiently support black male college students nor college-bound students if we simply keep perpetuating this myth that juxtaposes, right? It puts at war the needs of the black male in criminal justice and the black male on college campus. We can't put these types of things at odds because oftentimes they're in the same family. There are many men who are educated in college who are from the same community as someone who went to jail. You don't even have to read the other West Moore to know this to be true, right? Many of us can look at our own lives, our own experiences growing up, and see that this is true. Okay, sadly, many of us have our own families broken, kind of torn apart and separated by what's going on with the criminal justice system. Okay, and so when we talk about education and the power of it and what it means to be black and to pursue your education, education is a lifestyle. It's not just about degree attainment. Furthermore, there are many people who are in criminal justice system, who are behind bars or on parole, who have done amazing feats in education. Many are authors. Many are publishers. Many are converts to Christianity. Many have leveraged their story to be fantastic and inspirational, motivational speakers, right? And so we appreciate that, we applaud that, and we move forward into our topic today, recognizing that when we talk about education, it's not an easy conversation to have. There are a lot of issues there, which is why for this segment, I'm just going to start with my own personal journey and give you guys a snapshot of where I'm coming from my background. And hopefully, you can leave your thoughts with us on the Facebook page, and we'll be able to dialogue more about this in future casts. So, as I said, my name is Derek Porter. I'm originally from Minnesota, born and raised in public school, born in Minneapolis, South Side, went to Burroughs Elementary School there. We moved to the suburbs when I was going into third grade. That was a very different experience. I went from more of a predominantly black education setting to a predominantly white education setting. And for me, that wasn't particularly challenging. Growing up, even in Southside Minneapolis, I always had a diverse group of friends. And so that wasn't particularly challenging. I think what was a greater challenge was the isolation that I experienced at the time within my own family group, right? Growing up, I didn't attend the graduations of cousins. One that I distinctly remember because of its rarity was going to McAllister, right, which is right there in St. Paul, to see my cousin Andrew graduate from college. I also got to see him play some football games there at McAllister, and that was awesome. That was inspirational. And years later, I ended up, trying out and performing on the dance team Bodacious right there at the same college. And so getting connected from a young age with other cousins and other family members, being able to show that support is critical. That's something we definitely should be doing as families. Fast forwarding a bit, after I graduated from Burnsville High School, I went to the University of St. Thomas. I decided to stay close to home because I really felt a very strong connection to my parents, a very strong connection to the church that I had grown up in as well. And went to kind of the private school, the private Catholic school, St. Thomas, instead of the bigger University of Minnesota, simply to break out of my brother's shadow. I mean, my brother has a big, vibrant personality. Shout out to my brother, Christopher Porter, down in Texas. If you're in Texas and you don't know this guy, you should. If you're in Dallas, you don't know this guy, are you alive? He has a big personality. He does a lot of fantastic work, but I had to make my own indelible mark and discover what type of person I was going to be. And so I had to choose a different educational path than my siblings simply for that reason. Um, Toward the end of my college career, I actually got to do this program called the Institute for Responsible Citizenship. This was a fantastic experience because I got to go to American University in DC 2 consecutive summers, and this program focused on Black male achievement. We were some of the best and brightest African American males. And so this is where I got exposed to Ivy League schools. This is my first time going to Yale University and even learning that it's in New Haven. My only experience to an Ivy League education before that had been on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, hearing Carlton and his Glee Club chums talk about these things. And so going to that institute and taking that risk of joining that program made this a reality for me. Even though it was a bit intimidating, and even though I felt like I lacked ambition when I looked to the left and right at my peers, I still stepped out on faith. I applied to the program, and by grace I was accepted. That's also the place where I found a young Black male mentor. Shout out to my mentor, Elijah Hayward III, who's at UNC Chapel Hill doing his doctoral work. Awesome. Okay, that's very important. Having a family vision does include those other people who provide resources into our families. So being connected to a school and knowing your child's teachers, that's important. These people are working with your child hours a day, every day for months, and then obviously that compounds into years, and it's really shaping their worldview. Okay? As responsible parents and cousins and uncles and brothers, we need to be in touch with these institutions, with these nonprofits, with these public or private schools that are reaching into our children's lives and that we choose to apply to for ourselves. Because that can be the difference between finding a fantastic mentor and hitting a glass ceiling. Achieving and feeling just apathetic in terms of our achievement. So from there, I went to DC. That's where I really started to experience homesickness for the first time. So shout out to anyone who went to school in another state than your whole family. I didn't have any family in the DC area, and everyone that my parents recommended, I was too afraid to reach out to. So I experienced some serious lonely nights. It was very challenging, and I was very homesick. So shout out to the people who did that. That's another reason why building up those connections from a young age and just swamping, right? Drowning our children in love and community and fellowship and connection is extremely important, because once they leave your home, you never know in which direction they'll launch out to, right? Children are like arrows, right? In your quiver, and you take them out and you launch them into the world. But whether or not they hit that target and where they go, so much depends on the wind. And that wind is that extended family. It's that network, it's that community. It's that places in which we find ourselves. And I'm really hoping that by having a family vision, no one will ever find themselves alone in their educational pursuits, right? And lonely in that. After my time in DC, I went to Yale Divinity School. And of course, I went into that experience intimidated, but it was all for nothing. I didn't make the most of the resources there, if I'm going to be honest. And I was actually shocked and surprised by the amount of support that I got at graduation. Right? Shout out to all of my aunts. Shout out to my sister, Jules Porter, for supporting me and coming all the way out to New Haven, Connecticut from Mississippi and Minnesota, showing up to show me love and to support me. I graduated from there in May of 2013, and that same time is when my dad's mother passed, and we all went to that funeral. And so it was such a bittersweet moment. Until so to be surrounded by family was critical for me, right? Even as a millennial, it's very powerful how much we need in-person contact with our family members. I know that millennials are marked by being tech savvy, by social media and social relationships and social networking and all of this, but that makes the in-person moment-to-moment contact that much more impactful because it is becoming all the more rare. But we are human, and humans are communal by nature, and so we need that. So currently, where am I at? This past weekend, I went with my wife up to Falls Church so that she could visit some of her family. She was in DC when I met her and pursued her toward marriage, and that's where I took the GRE. I'm thinking about going back to school to pursue my educational doctorate, and that is a direct motivation out of my mother, Dr. Janice Porter, who got her doctorate from Bethel University. And so this is an element, okay, this is another nugget for your family. Build synergy, right? Build synergy. Let one family member's achievement overflow into another family member's achievement. By me graduating from Yale, my sister went back to law school and then decided to also get her MBA with that. And it continues going on in the cycle. So put some synergy into your immediate and extended family by achieving. Okay, and that brings me to my closing remarks. I just have 3 nuggets of advice I'd like to leave you guys with before I sign off. And so, piece of advice number 1, build family connections now. Build family connections now by supporting and celebrating as many educational victories as you can. Number 2, be the inspiration by being the first. If you feel like, man, I would be the first person from my family to go to college, then go. You're the first person from your family to get your master's, then go. You're the first person from your family to get that fellowship, that Rhodes Scholarship, that Truman Scholarship, to study abroad in this country or that. Go. Do it. Why? Because as you are filled up and as you are filled with that light of achievement, it will overflow. It will drive out darkness. It will build that synergy that your family needs to achieve their vision. Brings me to my 3rd point. Education is a lifestyle, okay, not a degree. Education is a vision that you have for your personal life, but you must also have it for your family. Education is not primarily about attainment as much as it is about assertion. Education is about intellectual risk-taking, and stronger families take greater risks and therefore reap greater rewards. So build that strong safety net. Launch yourself out if you need to, right? That's where it starts. And then launch others. Send other people in your family out into their dreams, telling them things like it's never too late. Okay? My wife is going back to school at age 30, right? Going back to school, doing her bachelor's degree. This is fantastic. This is something wonderful. There's no shame in being a single mother, of being a college or high school dropout, and now you're trying to get your GED. You're trying to get your bachelor's. You're trying to do some community college stuff. Or you're trying to go to trade school like Booker T. Washington would applaud. We applaud you here. Go, do that. Make the most of your dreams and achieve it. Achieve it. So I want to leave you guys with one more quote before I sign off. It's simply this: defining myself as opposed to being defined by others is one of the most difficult challenges I face. And that's by Carol Mosley Braun. It says, defining myself as opposed to being defined by what others say about us, right? It's one of the most difficult challenges I face. Carol Moseley Braun is an American diplomat, politician, lawyer. She represented Illinois in the United States Senate from 1993 to 1999. She's the first female African American senator and the first U.S. senator for the Democratic Party and the first to defeat an incumbent U.S. senator in an election and the first female senator from Illinois. So I leave you with that encouragement, right? Don't be afraid to be the first, right? Don't be afraid to be one who builds, one who spills educational achievement onto thirsty family members who are all around us. So I chose her because she's someone I want to learn more about, right? Education is essential to your family vision, and make it a priority today. Remember, for more information on developing your family vision and finding your purpose, please visit our website, www.visiondrivenfamily.com. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/visiondrivenfamily. Like our page, invite your friends, share this video. Please leave some comments for us, share some love with us. Leave us some reviews and, of course, your own testimonials. We'd love to hear your own educational journey. And if there's anything you'd like me to speak to in the weeks or months to come, feel free to post that or inbox us, as we definitely love, and look forward to serving your family and building that network of vision-driven families. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.